like succinctly, I would say just don't take no for an answer, right? Like you're gonna hear no a lot, and just don't take no for an answer.
Thank you so much, Artur, for your time today. Really, really appreciate it.
It's really great to be here, Jan. Thank you.
Would you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Artur Oliveira. I'm originally from Recife, Brazil. Been in the U.S. for a little while, and currently I'm working as a product manager at Cisco Umbrella, which is Cisco's cloud native network security solution.
Would you please tell me a little bit about your process of getting into the company, into the role? Maybe starting with the application process to maybe some of the interview process as well.
Yeah, sure. Happy to talk about that. So I applied for Cisco for a full-time role. So it was a little bit different than for an internship, which is how most people become MBA product managers.
Mm-hmm.
There's no MBA product. Everyone is a product manager at Cisco,
Uh-huh.
but from an MBA education.
Yep.
But the interview was very much based on my summer internship experience. It was asking me
Mm-hmm.
what had I done, what had I learned, how
Mm-hmm.
had I had measurable impact on the product, right? How
Mm-hmm.
had I helped the product achieve its goals and so on. So it was very
Mm-hmm.
much focused on that,
Mm-hmm.
but then also a huge cultural component. So I think most tech companies value their culture and want to maintain it, and Cisco, I think, does a phenomenal job of knowing what the culture is and wanting to make sure applicants are a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the interview process, there were group interviews that were purely
Mm-hmm.
focused on how do you work with others and things like
Gotcha.
that. So it was both the skills, but then also the um, like kind of the soft skills component of being a product manager.
Gotcha. So in your interview, where you kind of asked all these kind of, product strategy or, just framing or, estimation kind of questions, just like the normal product managers usually get?
Yeah, exactly. I think the interview process was relatively straightforward. So in the first round, one of the interviews was like, tell me about your favorite non-technical product.
Ah,
And I said like Lonely Planet, because I love to travel and I like the books. And then they were like, let's say you're the Lonely Planet product manager and you want to grow revenue and user base and everything. How do you
sure.
do that without bringing technology into it? And they were
Gotcha.
really assessing, like, do you understand user research? Do you know
Gotcha.
what an MVP is and how to create an MVP? Like,
Gotcha.
do you understand how to assess the market and your
Gotcha.
positioning in the market, all of these things? And
Gotcha.
they
Gotcha.
do that because like Cisco products are so B2B and they're
Uh-huh.
so complex that they want to take the product knowledge out of the interview because it wouldn't be fair to people,
Uh-huh.
because most of like almost no one who doesn't work in actual IT knows Cisco products, right? So they
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
it in a more generic way. And then there were some case interviews. One of those was like the traditional, like how many piano tuners are in the city of Chicago,
Gotcha.
things like that. And then the second round was very much about my experience, like I said.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like, tell me about the product that you're a PM for over the summer. I did my internship at WebMD. I told the interviewer about the product, and he was like, let's say your VP comes to you and says, grow your revenue. What do you do? And
Mm-hmm.
then I give an answer, and they're like, what else?
Gotcha.
And it was just like, what else? What else? What else? It was 45 minutes
Oh, wow.
of what else. So it definitely made me sweat a little bit, but it's not only about the money, but it's just seeing how you think, how you approach the problem,
Sure.
creativity, things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about what you do as a product manager at Cisco.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in an interesting place at Umbrella. So Umbrella, it's almost like an arm's length company within Cisco, not quite,
Uh-huh.
but it has a fair degree of autonomy. And but at the same time, it's not the only security product at Umbrella.
Gotcha.
And so, I'm sorry, it's not the only security product at Cisco. And so Cisco has a wide portfolio of security products. Umbrella is one of them. It is the main cloud solution.
Uh-huh.
And so a lot of the work that I do, it's a combination of identifying where the portfolio is not in unison
Mm-hmm.
and working with engineers to actually do better integrations between the products.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more traditional getting requests from customers, talking to
Mm-hmm.
customers and seeing how can we improve, looking at the competition and seeing features that we're missing, things like that. So it's a good balance of integration,
Uh-huh.
but then also kind of building features, trying to go after the competition type of
Sure.
product management work.
So, except for the short amount of MBA internship experience that you worked as a product manager, you didn't really have a product management background or an engineering background before joining Cisco. So did you have any learning curves? I would assume so. And like, if so, like, how did you actually go, to kind of overcome those learning curves that you had?
Yeah, that's always a struggle, right? I think there's always going to be learning curves. Specifically for me, a lot of the learning curve definitely came on the technical side. I don't have an engineering background. I don't have a technical engineering background,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a combination of um, being able to do the work, which
Uh-huh.
that's almost the easy thing to correct, right? You can read, you can take courses, you can do learning and development. But I think the more challenging thing, it's almost this kind of internal, honestly, just kind of self-questioning, right? Or some
Uh-huh.
people call it like imposter syndrome or something like that, where I'm a new PM on a project and I'm working with engineers that have like 20, 30 years of experience. And I'm telling them, here's a strategy that we're going to pursue and here's how we're going to work on this together. I'm not telling them what to do, but I am setting the strategy.
Uh-huh.
And that takes a learning curve to kind of trust yourself and trust the work that you've done and the research and the due
Gotcha.
diligence that's arrived at the decisions
Uh-huh.
and not like question yourself more than you should.
Would you say that an engineering background or like a prior product management experience is, I would say, required to become a product manager in a tech company based on your experience?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question, right? And I would say emphatically no.
Mm-hmm.
There absolutely are certain product management roles and certain companies, certain products, things like that you do, right? Like I work with a PM who does a lot of really intricate, detail oriented back end work,
Uh-huh.
and he needs to be just as technical as the engineers to make the decisions to kind of understand what's going on. But almost nobody else, myself or the other PMs that I work with, are to that level.
Uh-huh.
And so it just there's so much that falls under the scope of being a PM
Mm-hmm.
that you can do a lot of really great work that involves building products,
Mm-hmm.
working with customers, working cross functionally,
Mm-hmm.
actually shipping code, all of these things without having like a computer science background. You do need to have some skills to
Mm-hmm.
understand what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think you need that degree at the end of the day.
Gotcha. Yeah. I asked that so many times when I was looking for a job too. So
And okay, yeah. I'm
yeah, no.
curious what the responses you got were, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah. What do you like the most and what do you like the least about your role?
I know what I like the most. I'm thinking about like what do I like the least?
If you don't want, if you're uncomfortable answering that,
No,
you don't really have to. Some
no, no,
people,
no.
some no, like some people actually ask me, you know what? Let's maybe remove that one.
Okay.
So like if you feel uncomfortable, it's fine.
No, no, no. I think it's a really important question. And I think it's fair to be asked that question. When I'm interviewing candidates, I do get asked that question and I respect that question a lot. And I should be better prepared to answer that question, but it always catches me by surprise. But I would say as far as what I like the most about the role, it really comes down to I do really like core traditional product management. Like I like the idea of knowing when there's a need, but not knowing what the actual solution is,
Uh-huh.
and focusing on the customer, focusing on the user, so that you can go and build what needs to be built and then getting it out in front of people.
Uh-huh.
And just like as a quick example, the first time that we had a customer in Australia that kept asking for something, and it was just like an additional little feature. They needed to block some type of traffic for a specific reason. And they had been asking for it for like a couple years. And I came across a feature request and I was like, this probably won't be that hard to build. but let me just triple check this. I talked with the engineers on my team. They're like, we could do that reasonably quickly. And so I talked to the customer, we built it, we shipped it. I had a meeting with the customer and they're like, okay, we're ready to have this go live. And I like went into the dashboard, like flipped a value. And then all of a sudden the customer could see the feature on their screen, and I'm seeing all of this over a WebEx call. And it was just like, it was so cool. It was like, I did work that's like making the lives better of our users, in Australia. It was really cool. So that's all really awesome. I think that the thing that's challenging is that at the end of the day, like it is a messy, squishy, uncertain process, right?
Yeah.
Like it's different personalities, it's different work styles, it's even oftentimes different goals, but you don't realize that it's different goals. So you're just getting everybody to be aligned and walk in the same direction can be surprisingly tough. And when on good days, it's like a nice challenge, or you're like, all right, I'm reinvigorated by this challenge. And then on bad days, it's just like, oh, this is, why can't it be just a little bit easier? So it depends on the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about Cisco's culture and maybe work-life balance as well? I think like the culture and work-life balance is especially important. It's getting more and more important these days with all the remote working, work from home kind of things happening with the COVID-19. So would love to hear your perspective there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a corporate lawyer right around the corner telling me, no, I'm kidding. But I do need the disclaimer that, Cisco's a massive company with thousands of teams and products and so on. And so it varies a lot. But based on my experience and a lot of people that I know, there is this cohesive experience of, man, like the work-life balance is phenomenal. Like, I don't think you can have a better work-life balance while still like doing a really good job and being at a leading company, and having good impact in the market more than this. So yeah, I mean, it's people respect your hours, right? What I heard a lot when I started, it's like, it's on you to let everybody know what work-life balance is for you. And so if you're okay with having a meeting at 7 p.m., and somebody comes and says, let's have a meeting at 7 p.m., then do it. Like, nobody's going to stop you. But if you're not okay with it, it's on you to say no. And that person, generally speaking, will understand that and respect it. Sure. Right. And so you really don't see people working longer hours than they want to. You don't see people working on the weekends unless they want to. Now, of course, like anything, there are spikes, right? Like there's an annual Cisco conference called Cisco Live. And so leading up to that, there is a little bit more of a spike, but just generally speaking, it's really good. Back when I was still in the office in San Francisco, like everybody would get lunch together, and there was always a rule that like you can't talk about work during lunch. Like you can only talk about anything that's not work, things like that. So it's really, really good. Yeah. Yeah. And I forget this. There were two parts to your question, and I forget the second part. It was work-life balance and something else.
Yeah, that was actually two things. Just one was the culture, and then the work-life balance was the second one.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it kind of ties in together.
Yeah, the culture is really good. It's very collaborative. And just to kind of give you an idea that kind of fits into both, when the pandemic started, the company started having more frequent all hands where the CEO starts the meeting, and then they have different speakers. When different social events have happened over the past year, they would invite like an expert to come and talk and just answer employees' questions, right? Sure. Like social justice or anything else that might have happened. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're in it together beyond just like getting your product to market and making the next X% revenue increase. And even something that I thought was really cool is setting the culture of like, we're all working from home. This is really tough. If there's a dog barking in the background, like don't worry about it and don't hold that against anyone. Somebody's kids running through, like, it's tough for that person. You have to be understanding for yourself. Just kind of like really laying that idea to help minimize the stress and just the challenge in working from home. And they've even done a couple of like bonus days off for the whole company.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a couple of times where it's like they'll email it out and be like, like things are really tough. There's a lot going on. We see from the feedback that everybody's like just working more than normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, on this day, let's all agree that we're just going to take the day off. If you have a customer engagement, whatever, take it whenever you can. But
Gotcha.
just like having these little moments for people to take a breather and pause and just reminding everybody else that everybody's human and everybody needs balance.
Good, really good points. My last question is advice for those who wants to break into product management, especially those who do not have an engineering background or prior product management experience.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I keep saying that a lot, but I mean it. Like succinctly, I would say just don't take no for an answer, right? Like you're gonna hear no a lot, and just don't take no for an answer. I got my summer internship in product management like in May, of the summer when my internship was supposed to start.
Yeah.
And that's because everywhere I applied were like, oh, you don't have any product management experience, but we'd love to interview you for our HR internship. And I'm like, that's not, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. I'm not like glossing over. Like it really sucked. And you know this because we talked about it at the time.
Yep.
But I had friends like you, and I had some advisors at school that were like, you know what you want, keep doing it. Like that resolve didn't come from me. It came from the people around me. Primarily. But then I think the other thing is there are things that you can do to help yourself, right? So if you don't even need a certification, but if you do online trainings like lynda.com, just Indeed, Coursera, whatever, and you start to learn about like how does a product manager tackle problems, make trade-offs, make decisions, what are the tools, right? Like what is an MVP? Like do you actually understand what it means? Like, can you talk about it in an interview? All of these things, you can build your arsenal so that you convince somebody that you're able to do the work, even if you don't have the experience. Yeah.
No, I love that answer. Yeah, awesome. Those were all my questions, Artur. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Keep up what you're doing. It's really cool to see the way career school's going. Wish you all the best, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.